We're at the Royal Rumble and we kick off the show in style with the Women's Royal Rumble match, which starts off with the Women's Tag Team Champions, as number 1 is Io Sky and number 2 is Rhea Ripley. And they know what they must do, as they slug it out with one another, but neither can manage to eliminate the other. At least by the time entry number 3, Bianca Belair, makes her return, and she takes it to both women, proving why she still is the EST of WWE. And that thought is amplified when Bianca musters up Rio on her shoulders, marching around like they're nothing and dropping them with inverted KODs. However, before she can eliminate them, she gets distracted by entrant number 4, Liv Morgan. And she completely dominates just like Bianca did, only this time, some major assistance is from a steel chair, as she batters everyone with it. However, that all stops by the time Nikki Bella enters potentially her last ever Royal Rumble at number 5. And she manages to disarm Liv, and with there being no equaliser, Nikki Bella manages to get on top of her. But she can't eliminate her, not by the time Lola Vice enters at number 6, who knocks the Hall of Famer out cold with a spinning back fist, as she picks her up and eliminates her just like that. Nikki Bella is the first one gone, and she's not happy about this whatsoever, which we see when she assaults everyone once she regains consciousness. And looking to take advantage of this is number 7, Chelsea Green, who unprettiers Lola Vice and sends her out. Although this result can't translate to the big 3, as she gets swarmed by them, and after taking their biggest hits, Rhea Ripley eliminates her. But her night isn't done with just yet, as Julia enters at number 8 and headbutts Chelsea right back down to earth. And whilst the Women's United States Champion is able to be everyone's equal in the Rumble, she can't quite eliminate anyone by the time Alba Fire comes on out at number 9. And Chelsea is actively begging for Alba's spot in the match, and with her refusing, Miss Green slaps Fire in the face, resulting in Alba Fire officially leaving the Secret Service. And this seemingly lights a fire under her, as she brings it to anyone and everyone, which Sol Ruka does as well. As after dropping Chelsea Green, she enters her first ever Royal Rumble and mixes it up with anyone and everyone, including Io Sky. And Bayley looks to do the same, as after ending Chelsea Green's night and fending off Liv Morgan, she enters the Rumble. And while she can't eliminate anyone, Julia can, as after dropping Alba Fire with a Northern Lights bomb on the concrete floor, she puts her back into the ring and sends her right back out. And number 12, Alexa Bliss looks to follow her in her path, ultimately failing by the time Natalya comes on out at number 13, and she has a sharpshooter for everyone. However, she then gets cut off by Rio, who corner her. But number 14, Mickie James, comes on out to even the odds, and while she does do that, she also manages to eliminate Natalya. There are no friends in the Royal Rumble, and the first ever Women's Royal Rumble winner, Asuka, knows that all too well, as she takes it to Mickie James, overwhelming her to the point where she gets eliminated. But to fend off an Empress, you need a Queen, as last year's Royal Rumble winner Charlotte Flair enters the playing field. As ultimately, we get to see Charlotte versus Rio. Although the returning Tiffany Stratton comes in to change the equation, which leads to Charlotte Flair inadvertently eliminating Alexa Bliss. And she's not far behind, as Julia unbelievably eliminates the Queen. And Nia Jax is looking to add to the eliminations, and while she can't manage to do that, she is able to take complete and utter control over the match. As with everyone else down, Tam Paxley comes out at number 19 to try and get revenge for the Evolution Battle Royal. And she's really struggling against the Irresistible Force, though thankfully for her, reinforcements aren't far behind, as the Lyra Valkyria comes on out at number 20 and impressively lifts Nia Jax up and plants her right back down with a Nightwing. As with the power of friendship, they manage to eliminate Nia Jax. But this friendship doesn't sit right with Bayley, as she and Tatum get into a scuffle, and Lyra Valkyria gets distracted by entry number 21, Roxanne Perez. As the Judgment Day numbers are growing, as with their united force, they dominate everyone and even team up to eliminate Tatum Paxley. And whilst Lyra Valkyria can't get revenge just quite yet, Jordynne Grace can, as she takes it to everyone in the match. And with this, JC Jane swoops in at number 23, and following 2 back-to-back discus elbows, she eliminates Bayley. It's a bad night for Lyra Valkyria's friends, although she hangs on in there by the time Lash Legend comes on out at number 24, and she makes an immediate impact, as after decimating Tiffany Stratton, she eliminates her. Arguably one of the favourites is gone, but another is, by the time Kairi Sane is the war zone at number 25, as she actually eliminates Asuka, her own tag team partner, and she joins her when number 26 Zoe Stark sneak attack dropkicks her, as after a Z360, she sends her out and all. But with Becky Lynch being number 27, she doesn't enter the ring, choosing to watch the action unfold. Although she does try to eliminate Bianca Belair, and when she realises this won't happen, she quickly gets out of dodge. However, she can't do that much longer by the time AJ Lee enters her first Royal Rumble, and she of course goes after Becky Lynch. And once she puts her into the ring, she locks in a Black Widow, and with Becky tapping out, AJ Lee eliminates her. But she turns around into a surprise oblivion out of nowhere, as Liv Morgan eliminates AJ Lee early, which Becky Lynch loves, as she continues the attack up until Maxine Dupree enters the Rumble at number 29, as she batters her, which ends up being her own undoing, as Becky ends up distracting her, leading to Zoe Stark eliminating her. And that's not all, as we see Jordynne Grace get rid of Lash Legend, only for her to be eliminated by Julia. As then, Trish Stratus comes on out at number 30. She's not retired after all, as she first goes up against Zoe Stark, ultimately beating and eliminating her. Then we see Lyra Valkyria duck Roxanne Perez as she's eliminated, and from here, Julia just tackles her out as well. Though Trish ends up getting clotheslined out of the ring from the NXT Women's Champion, but she too gets disposed of by a Sol Ruka super kick, as she turns around into Julia eliminating her as well. The Women's United States Champion is on a tear, so the big three come together one last time to eliminate her. But as Io Sky finishes off the job, Rhea turns her back on Bianca, as she even Avalanche Riptides her as well, and with an over the moonsault, Rhea Ripley betrays Io Sky and eliminates her, though she turns around into a clothesline by Liv Morgan. We're down to 2, and after missing a critical brain whip, Bianca Belair succumbs to an oblivion. As with that, Liv Morgan wins the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble. But who will she choose? Well, before we find out, it's time to find out if Gunther will be the man to retire AJ Styles. But can he get the job done? Well, the match is on, and Gunther initially overpowers AJ Styles, so the Phenomenal One attempts to rely on his technical wrestling, though Gunther is a match for him in this category too. So Styles then reverts to his striking game, which is what is able to overwhelm Nottingham Al, at least temporarily, as after he's busted open, Gunther eventually is able to get back on top, and while Styles is able to fight back, it seemingly doesn't matter, as he's able to nail a trilogy of lariats. But Styles survives, so Gunther attempts to take AJ Lee outside, subsequently leading to a phenomenal forearm courtesy of the Phenomenal One, as Styles then goes for and nails a second in the ring, but even this doesn't keep Gunther down. So he tries for the Styles Clash, which goes horribly wrong for him, as following a back body drop, Gunther is able to nail not one powerbomb, but 2 of them. Yet this doesn't keep AJ down, so Gunther tries for one more powerbomb, which fails, as Styles is able to finally connect the Styles Clash, following this up with a third phenomenal forearm, getting only a 1 count. AJ is shook, and he gets desperate, redecorating both announcers' tables, Styles clashing Gunther through both. As from effectively crawling back into the ring, the referee calls for the count-out win. It's not the win AJ wanted, though regardless, his career is still intact. But what's next? Well, it's time to find out if Sami Zayn can finally finish his story and win the WWE Championship. But standing in his way is the Scottish Warrior Drew McIntyre, who completely decimates Sami throughout the majority of the contest, but no matter what he throws at him, Sami just keeps on kicking, and eventually he mounts a comeback, ultimately leading to a corner exploder suplex. Though the haluva kick is nowhere to be found, as Drew nails a future shock DDT, yet Sami kicks out again, and after some more back and forth, he's in the position to nail a haluva kick once more, which he finds only on the referee, and he's able to quickly avoid Drew's Claymore, and is actually able to finally nail the haluva kick, but there's still no ref. Sami had the match won, so he goes and grabs a chair. He's not desperate to win a WWE Championship, though he comes to his senses and drops the weapon, getting immediately claymored for his supposed mistake, as Drew then grabs the chair and swings it relentlessly into him until the referee gets back up, as Drew discards the weapon and goes into the cover for only a 2 count. Drew can't believe it, but Sami is practically done, as he demands for Drew to give his best shot. It's his final stand, as he gets claymored and pinned. Drew McIntyre retains. It's heartbreak for thousands, if not millions. Sami Zayn has failed to win the big one again, and his path until the WWE Championship is effectively closed. But now, it's time for the main event of the evening, as it's time for the Men's Royal Rumble match, which starts off with the United States Champion Carmelo Hayes and the Cesar Ilya Dragunov. And both men are so even, countering each other's finishing blows like they know each other inside and out. But they soon get joined by Gunther, who dominates both men up until Braun Breaker comes out at number 4, who manages to beat Ringaral's equal, but still no one is eliminated. However, Penta looks to change that as he nearly gets rid of Ilya Dragunov, ultimately failing to do so, at least by the time Finn Balor comes on out at number 6 with his old theme and his classic gear. And he's on fire, which Dragon Lee tries to put out at number 7. But whilst he does manage to overwhelm the Prince, Ring General is equally able to overwhelm him, though he hangs on in there, at least by the time El Grande Americano comes on out at number 8. And he gets absolutely slaughtered by Gunther, who chops him down and plants him back down with a powerbomb before ultimately being tossed out by Ring General. And once he recovers, he gets confronted by the returning entrant number 9, Chad Gable, who drops him down, and once he gets into the ring, he's a force to be reckoned with, almost eliminating Penta, but Gunther ends up finishing the job. So Chad Gable naturally goes after him, yet he can't eliminate him, although he can eliminate Dragon Lee by entry number 10, the man who just lost less than an hour ago, Sami Zayn. And he mixes it up with everyone aside from Chad Gable and Gunther, which allures him by the time Bronson Reed comes on out at number 12. And both he and Braun Breaker manage to overwhelm everyone, including Chad Gable, who gets eliminated by the Vision's overwhelming might. And after some further beatdowns, all that stands are the Vision and Finn Balor. He needs help, and help does indeed arrive in the form of his former enemy Damian Priest, as the two are actually able to work together and actually overwhelm Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, as Damian Priest even double chokeslams them, but he makes a critical error, turning his back on the Prince, who subsequently eliminates him, which leads to his own demise, as Carmelo Hayes sends out Finn Balor. Then the last 3 United States champions stare off with one another, that is, until they get interrupted by number 13, Logan Paul. And he mocks all 3 men, so naturally, they all take it in turns to completely and utterly decimate the Maverick, with Sami Zayn ultimately being the one to eliminate Logan Paul. And this infuriates Austin Theory, who enters in at number 14, and he has to go toe-to-toe with Gunther. So he just waits for Bronson Reed to sneak attack Ring General, as the two try to eliminate him, but then Grayson Waller enters the Rumble at number 15, and he actually tries burying the hatchet of Austin Theory, which of course doesn't work, as he gets swiftly dealt with and eliminated by his former tag team partner. Yet Gunther then quickly eliminates Austin Theory as well, coming into contact with the returning number 16, LA a Knight, who drops Fury for BFT, and once he gets inside of the ring, he does the same to Bronson Reed and subsequently eliminates him. But that's all he can do, as up next is the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, who comes on out at number 17 and immediately mixes up with Gunther. Although he just can't quite eliminate him by the time Mama Femi comes in at number 18. And he runs a roughshod over everyone, especially Carmelo Hayes, who's effectively out cold with a European uppercut. And number 19, Trick Williams, takes full advantage of this, picking him up and tossing him out of the match. Now Ilya Dragunov is a sole Iron Man, but regardless of that, Jey Uso is out next at number 20. And he's proving why he's one half of the World Tag Team Champions, but he can't manage to overcome the ring general Gunther, who just catches him with a German suplex. Though then Sami Zayn starts to overwhelm him, ultimately resulting in heartbreak, as the ring general hurls Sami Zayn out of the match. Sami Zayn is gone, and AJ Styles is in, as he immediately phenomenal forearms Gunther. But he can't eliminate him, as AJ Styles comes into contact with entrant number 22, Rey Mysterio. However, the ring general breaks up the festivities, so the two legends work together, but after a 619 to Gunther, Rey gets caught mid-air with a Braunbreaker spear out of nowhere. Then he goes after AJ Styles, yet he hangs on in there, at least by the time Aleister Black enters the match, and he's an absolute kicking machine, but these kicks don't turn into eliminations by the time Matt Cardona enters the battlefield at number 24. And he immediately crosses paths with Cody Rhodes, though he actually tries to eliminate him, which doesn't work of course, as Cody Rhodes hangs on in there. But Jacob Fatu looks to change that, as he bulldozes through everyone as soon as he enters the match, yet he can only do that, no eliminations, as Randy Orton comes out at number 26, as he's got an RKO for everyone, which leads to Gunther scurrying over to Rey Mysterio and tossing him out of the Rumble. But that small victory immediately turns into a loss, as Brock Lesnar comes out and he feasts on everyone, F5s for all, as he even eliminates Aleister Black. Then he sends Jey Uso out of the Rumble as well. However, his elimination spree stops at 2, as the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns enters the Royal Rumble at number 28 and hits Brock with 3 spears. Although it's Braun Breaker who gets the last laugh, spearing both men as he eliminates Brock Lesnar. But after that, we see the return of Chris Jericho. He's back in WWE, and he's got a code breaker for several people, yet he gets overwhelmed by Braun Breaker, as the Steiner is on top of the world, up until he sees Austin Theory drag out a lifeless Bronson Reed, which he follows up with a stomp, paving the way for the return of Seth Rollins, who immediately catches a Braun Breaker spear and turns it into a pedigree, and after a stomp, he sends out the Steiner. Meanwhile, we see Trick Williams eliminate Matt Cardona, but then Randy Orton sneaks up on him and just manages to get out the former TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Then he and Cody Rhodes decide to team up on Jacob Fatu. As with an RKO and crossroads being delivered onto the Samoan Werewolf, they both eliminate him. And with Randy Orton turning his back on Cody Rhodes, he proves that maybe he is the Snake, as the American Nightmare eliminates the Apex Predator, but he turns around into a thunderous spear out of nowhere by Roman Reigns, as he dumps him out of the match just like that. And with Gunther setting out LA Knight via a big boot, there's 8 superstars left. And Gunther makes it 7, as he catches AJ Styles mid-phenomenal forearm into a scoop slam, which gets quickly followed up with a powerbomb, as Gunther eliminates AJ Styles. Another fan favourite is gone, and from here, he goes on a tear, first nailing another powerbomb, this time on a Chris Jericho, before tossing him out of the ring, and to conclude his elimination spree, he catches Ilya Dragunov mid-Torpedo Moscow into a rear naked choke, as the Iron Man eventually is forced to pass out, as Gunther simply chucks him over and out of the match. Yet that's when his tyranny stops, as he gets clotheslined out by Obafemi. We're down to 3, and it's a very unlikely final 3 at that. But Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns are so fixated on each other that they don't even realise the bigger threat in the ring. As the former NXT champion double chokeslams both former members of the Shield, as he then sends out Seth Rollins and lastly Roman Reigns to win the 2026 Men's Royal Rumble. It's a humongous moment for him. He's going to WrestleMania. But who will Obafemi face? Well, we're just gonna have to wait and see. As if you like this story, I think this might interest you.